What a waste of time. I mean, what was the point of what we saw on Saturday? Yeah, Tennessee got the win. A lot of points, touchdowns, fireworks, Rocky Top. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. I know that's what I'm sounding like. But really, what was the point? Big takeaways, big conclusions from this football game. We'll hit it here. Florida on deck. This is your Monday Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into it. This is your Monday edition of Locked On Vols. I'm your host, Eric Kane. So glad to have you guys with us here along for this Monday show. Find me on Twitter at _Kane or at Locked On Vols. And of course, Twitter Tuesdays coming up tomorrow. A lot of you guys have already been sending me in stuff. I've been bookmarking them. Don't worry. A lot of good questions already. But Twitter Tuesday for the show tomorrow. It's when you take over the show. I write for the VolQuest.com website. That's the On3 affiliates of Tennessee, of course, and I'm really looking forward to breaking down this 63-6 win Tennessee over Akron. Now, again, what was the point, right? Just like I said in the cold open, you learn nothing about your football team in a game like this. You don't. And big picture takeaways coming up, scoring plays courtesy of the Vol Radio Network, and stats and Caner grades. Total review and reaction on deck here for Tennessee and Akron. That's on your Monday show. But of course, we're going to spend so much time discussing Tennessee and Florida this week. Can't wait to get into it. I've already got a couple of awesome guests lined up to join us. We're going to have a crossover show coming up on Thursday. A lot of fun stuff to get into here this week right here on Locked On Vols. So please stay tuned, subscribe on YouTube, and follow us wherever you find your podcast. All right, 63-6. 63-6, the final score. Tennessee makes quick work of the MAC. Of course, had sandwiched an overtime win around at Pittsburgh around those wins with the MAC. And Tennessee sits at 3-0. First time since 2016 heading into conference play. Now, I'm not trying to downgrade that. That's awesome. I mean, Tennessee's look good. Tennessee's offense is moving, and Tennessee's scoring a lot of points. Hendon Hooker's look good overall. The defense has looked alive, and it's been aggressive, and that's all great. But what do you get out of a game played against Akron? I understand the point of it. You need a game or two like this every year. I get it. I'm not a big fan of having 3 games like this, but I've also said that you play in the SEC, so why schedule 2 Power 5 conference non-conference opponents? When Tennessee goes, or when the SEC goes to a 9-game regular season conference schedule, they're going to drop that likely, right? Because why on earth would you want to play 10 Power 5 games? We'll see. We'll see how long those. And I know there's still some scheduled contracts with some big time Power 5 matchups in the future because of the expanded playoff as well. So potentially, but you learn nothing about your game, and you learn nothing about your team in a game like what was Saturday night. Tennessee scored 14 points in the first quarter, 21 in the second quarter, 14 in the third quarter, and 14 in the fourth quarter. Shut out the Zips in half number 1, allowed a field goal in the third quarter and a field goal in the fourth quarter. But what do we say all week long? What do we say? In a game like this, you want to get in and get out. You don't want anybody to get hurt. Unfortunately, football is football. This happens. But gosh, it sucks when it happens in a game against a team like Akron. Joe Moorhead's a good coach. I thought they were pretty dynamic in what they did to an extent against Tennessee. Offensively, DJ Irons, he's a player. He's also, I was kind of rooting for him because I thought he was a really good player on a really bad team, and that's still the case. He's still the best player on that team. But after watching it live and going back and doing the rewatch on Sunday afternoon, not a fan of DJ Irons. I'm not. He cried a lot. He talks so much crap. He had to be held back and restrained numerous times. Like, what are you doing, dude? I mean, you're a baller. Go to the transfer portal this offseason. Go play for a winner. You're good enough. Not a fan of DJ Irons moving forward. I'm not. He's a player, though. I'll say that. He's a player. I thought that they were kind of creative with the screens and the short passing game. I mean, he racked up 241 yards of passing against Tennessee's defense. And I understand Tennessee rotated a ton defensively all game long. I'm not going to be critical of that. I'm just saying it just kind of is what it is. But unfortunately, it's football. And Tennessee did not get out of this game injury-free. Cedric Tillman went up. Hendon Hooker dropped back. got hit as he was throwing. I thought Jalin Wright stepped up, or it's Dylan Sampson actually. Dylan Sampson stepped up, saw the blitz, went up and engaged. But I mean, Dylan Sampson's what, a $195, a $190 maybe, and he got pushed back into Hendon. The guy grabbed on the Hendon when he threw it. The throw was a little high. Hendon Hooker, or excuse me, Cedric Tillman goes up, comes down, gets rolled up on. That's an ankle injury, it looks like. He walks off on his own power, goes to the tent, immediately goes to the locker room and takes on treatment. You don't see him again. So there's Cedric Tillman. That's the biggest one, right? Excuse me. Second play of the game, he had Jabari Small. Looked like he got a stinger a little bit in that right shoulder. Again, Jabari Small's had injuries throughout his career with his shoulders. He dealt with that the entire 2021 campaign. He was on the sideline. He was going through it with the bye, stretching that shoulder. I bet he could have returned. But again, like Josh Heupel said at halftime, you look up at the scoreboard and say, what is the point, right? What is the point? But that's a concern. Jabari Small goes out second play of the game, doesn't come back. Cedric Tillman goes out, second quarter, doesn't come back. And then midway through the third quarter, Dylan Sampson, who's been balling, he gets what looks like got rolled up on a little bit, rolls to the side. He doesn't go back in. So, again, this is why I made such a big point all this offseason for 4 scholarship running backs is not enough. It's not enough because potentially at one point in that ball game when Tennessee's up, 49-3, 56-3, you had Jalin Wright carrying the football in the third quarter. Like, what are you doing? Like he's one hit away. You're down to 1 scholarship running back. Like, what on earth are you doing? I'll be critical about that for sure, but it's football, but it sucks. I mean, in a game like this, you don't want anybody to get hurt. And Tennessee had some guys get hurt. And so that's going to be the biggest storyline all week long is the injuries. How's Cedric Tillman looking? How's Jabari Small looking? How's Dylan Sampson looking? What about Warren Burrell, who didn't play in this football game? How was he looking? What about D. Williams, who hasn't made a season debut yet? Juwan Mitchell came back and played, so that was a good sign. But it does take away a little bit of that 63-6 final score for Tennessee because you dealt with some injuries. So, we'll see. I don't think we're going to know anything. Josh Heupel will not say a lick a thing later on today in his press conference, on Wednesday, on Vol calls, on Thursday. I mean, whatever. Every time we talk to him, he will not say anything about injuries. He just won't. That's just not his style, okay? We'll have to see if we can get some news and notes throughout the week. Then ultimately see who's out there for Florida. I mean, if it's just me, if I'm a guessing man, I bet Jabari Small will be back. I don't know about Dylan Sampson. I don't know about Cedric Tillman. We'll look. I don't think anything's long term, especially with Jabari Small and Dylan Sampson. And again, I don't know about Cedric Tillman. We'll have to see. We will have to see. Tennessee moves up to number 11. Number 11 in the AP poll. Again, you're entering week 4. You're not in conference play yet. It's nice, but is it an overreaction? Maybe. Florida took down Utah and jumped all the way from unranked all the way up to number 12 before they started coming back down. By the way, Florida's at number 20 this week, so it's going to be an 11-20 showdown at Neyland Stadium for College GameDay. Sold-out crowd, 3:30 CBS kick, and checkered Neyland. I mean, the stage is set, folks. It can't get any bigger than this. The stage is literally set. But how many times has that stage been set in recent memory? And Tennessee came up short. We're going to spend all week long previewing Tennessee and Florida. I promise you, we're gonna throw stats. I mean, this won't be the last time you've heard this, unfortunately, but you know it. 16-17. Tennessee has lost 16 of the last 17 meetings of Florida. Tennessee has not won in this matchup since 2016. We're going to talk all about that, plus previewing Florida as the week goes on. I promise you that. But the stage is set, folks. College GameDay's in town. CBS 3:30 kick. Checkered Neyland. Sold out crowd. What do you gain from a game from Akron that can carry over to the Florida Gators? We'll find out. We will find out. I liked a lot of what I saw, and we're going to discuss that as scoring plays and Caner grades and stats and info and all that as the show goes on today. But ultimately, the number one goal was to get in and get out injury-free. And unfortunately, football's football, and that didn't happen. Hopefully those guys will be okay, and hopefully we'll get some word as the week goes on, because if Cedric Tillman can't play against Florida, it's not great. If Jabari Small can't play against Florida, it's not great. If Dylan Sampson's not available to play against Florida, it's not great. The game will be played, life will go on, and we'll have to see about those guys. I don't know anything. Again, I know it's an ankle for Sampson. I know it's an ankle for Tillman. I know it's a shoulder, maybe stingerish situation for Jabari Small. I don't know how they are, at the time of this recording. I don't. We'll see about that as the week goes on. But Tennessee all the way up to number 11. It's got blowout wins against 2 MAC opponents and a win on the road at Pittsburgh. Not taking anything away. It's a win on the road against Pittsburgh. maybe a slight overreaction in terms of the ranking. It doesn't matter. Once you get into conference play and once you start playing SEC teams, that's when it matters. But hey, good on Tennessee for being ranked number 11. That is a neat little, thing you can put on the resume for Josh Heupel. That is cool. And hopefully Tennessee can sustain that as the season goes on. But anyway, we're going to continue to get in that. Coming up next, courtesy of the Vol Radio Network, we will discuss scoring plays. Excuse me. We'll discuss some scoring plays, and we'll get into all that when we return right here on Locked On Vols. But first, I want to tell you about my friends over at BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for all your pro and college football betting needs and sports information this season. Find all the latest football league developments, game matchups, news, podcasts, including this year's opening games. Hey, yeah, that line needs to be taken out of there, but Tennessee opens up as what, a 9.5-point favorite? 9.5-point favorite over the Gators, courtesy of BetOnline this week at Neyland Stadium. What do you like? I don't know. We'll discuss that as the week goes on, but 9.5 is the line, courtesy of BetOnline. Take that for what it will. BetOnline is also your continued source for all your sports wagering information, live betting, esports, scores, the fastest, easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including Major League Baseball playoffs right around the corner, MMA, boxing, and golf, NASCAR as well. Had the race at Bristol the other night, so I'm a big fan of that. Head on over to the website today or use your mobile device. Learn about all the latest trends and all the action. BetOnline, it is where the game starts. Welcome back into your Monday edition of Locked On Vols. I'm your host, Eric Kane. Twitter Tuesday is tomorrow. Hit me up at _Kaner and at Locked On Vols. Tennessee, a 63-6 winner over Akron. Tennessee sits at 3-0 for the first time since 2016. But the challenge just begins. Florida comes to town. I don't care how bad Florida looked against South Florida. I don't care how bad Florida looked against Kentucky. I don't care how overrated Utah is. It's Tennessee and it's Florida. Throw the records out of the book, out of the window. Throw the stats out of the window. It's a rivalry game, and it's a series where Florida has absolutely owned Tennessee. Can that change? I think it can, and we'll tell you why as the week goes on. But first, let's continue to look back at the Akron game. Courtesy of the Vol Radio Network, I have written permission to play this audio courtesy of the Vol Radio Network from the Vol Radio Network. Want to make that clear to everybody listening right now. Tennessee, right from the get-go, well, I take that back. Right from the get-go, they missed a field goal when they received the kickoff, took the ball, missed a Chase McGrath field goal from 47 yards out, but made a stop defensively. Tennessee jumped on the board first. Jalin Wright, a 2-yard touchdown to cap a 7-play, 74-yard drive, and Tennessee led 6-0 after the PAT, or before the PAT.
On 1st and goal at the 2, handoff. Jalin Wright wrestled down, fighting, and did he get to the end zone? No sign yet. There's a big pileup right at the goal line. Trying to find the ball. Touchdown, Tennessee. They finally find it, and the Volunteers strike first as Jalin Wright just pushed the pile to get into the end zone, and Tennessee caps off its second drive with a touchdown and leads Akron 6-0.
Not even 3 minutes later, Dylan Sampson got in the football game. Remember, Jabari Small went down after his second carry of the game. Therefore, everybody moved up a peg. Jalin Wright was the lead back. Dylan Sampson was the backup. He got in the game, put Tennessee up 14-0 at the 5:52 mark of the first quarter. It was a 5-play, 79-yard drive where Tennessee took 1:49 off the clock. Speed option, I believe, to the short side of the field. Dylan Sampson finds pay dirt.
Hooker out of the shotgun. Option play. Gives it Sampson to the 10, to the 5, to the checkerboards. He dives to the pylon. No sign yet. And there it is finally. Touchdown, Tennessee. Option play. Coming to the right side. As Dylan Sampson, who has plenty of speed, took the pitch from Hendon Hooker. Steamrolled right to the pylon and got in for the Tennessee touchdown.
Boy, oh boy, did Jalin Hyatt have himself a ball game. Super efficient, 5 targets, 5 receptions, 165, and 2 touchdowns. His first touchdown, what's the word I'm looking for? Both, not impact plays, but gosh, I hate talking in front of a microphone. This happens to me all the time. Big time plays, explosive plays. There we go, explosive plays. His first one, 57 yards on a little switch route when he starts in the slot, takes it out to a wheel route. The outside guy has a little rub. Kind of sets an unofficial pick, if you will. That was Cedric Tillman. 57 yards. Jalin Hyatt from Hendon Hooker capped a 6-play, 80-yard drive, 2:04 off the clock, and Tennessee led 21-0 just inside the second quarter.
First down, Hooker back to throw, guns it long right sideline. Man's wide open down at the 15. Crank up Rocky Top. Touchdown, Jalin Hyatt. He got by the entire secondary of the Zips, and Hooker hit him right in stride. 57 yards. Perfect throw. Big-time touchdown by Jalin Hyatt.
Later on in the second quarter, 6:47 mark of that frame, Dylan Sampson, Hendon Hooker once again. The speed option, this time to the wide side of the field, and this time from 11 yards out. Here's what it sounded like on the Vol Radio Network, courtesy of Bob Kessling, and Tennessee led 28-0.
Hooker waits for the snap, gets it. Option play, same one they scored on. Gives to Sampson to the 10, to the 5, to the checkerboards. Touchdown, Dylan Sampson. New wrinkle tonight, the option play. And that time, Hendon Hooker ran the option perfectly to Dylan Sampson, who races in around right in the 11 yards for a Tennessee touchdown.
I guess I'll say this right here. It's funny, behind the curtain, if you will. It's funny. Speed option was one of the things that we weren't allowed to video or take pictures of or anything during fall camp. It's hilarious because, again, speed option has been a part of football since longer than you or I have been alive. You're not reinventing the wheel here, but nonetheless, for 2 years, they haven't ran speed option, ran it against Akron. I don't know why you would do it against Akron, but then I got to thinking about it. It's one more thing that Florida must prepare for. That's why. It's one more thing that Billy Napier is going to have to prepare his defense for, is defending the speed option. Hendon Hooker got crushed. Everybody was talking about how dirty they were going at his legs. I'll say this. My background was from an option offense, and the quarterback gets hit literally every single play in an option offense, because if he doesn't get hit, he's running the football. If he does get hit, he's pitching the football to somebody else. That's just kind of how that works. All right, so Tennessee led by a score of, 28-0. Jalin Hyatt again, 56 seconds left in the second quarter. 48-yard pass from Hendon Hooker over the middle. It was a slant, and he just outran the entire defense. That's the difference in SEC players and MAC players in Tennessee. Went up 35-0 with just 56 seconds left in the half.
Third down and 4. Two wideouts on either side. Hooker looks, quick slant. That's complete. Jalin Hyatt at the 30, at the 20, the number, catch him. Yeah. Touchdown, Tennessee. 48 yards to Jalin Hyatt. Right at the snap of the ball, he was able to move in, tighten up his split from this left side. He just went right quick on a slant across the middle, caught it, and there was nobody near him, and nobody was going to catch him.
Not even 5 minutes into the third quarter, Tennessee found pay dirt again on a 1-yard rush from Jalin Wright that made the score 42-0. 3 points were added on to avoid the shutout from the kicker from Akron. He was good from 35 yards out. It was 42-3. Then the backups get in, more of the backups on offense. The entire second unit gets in, and Joe Milton, it's mop-up duty. Let's not overreact, but credit him where credit's due. In an era of the transfer portal, I understand he's already transferred once, but he's a graduate. He can go again if he wanted to. Stayed put, took advantage of a situation, knows his role, is a good teammate, obviously has worked on his mechanics. 2 deep balls, both beautiful passes, and this one to Ramel Keaton might have been the best pass I've ever seen in person. Beautiful throw to Ramel Keaton. 57 yards on a dart, right over the shoulder, and that was a touchdown as the third quarter came to a close. Tennessee led 49-3. Give this a listen to Bob Kessling and the Vol Radio Network.
First down, Tennessee at the 43. Milton, play fake, back to throw.
He's got him. He's got him.
Bomb downfield to the 10. Touchdown, Tennessee. Joe Milton shows off that cannon of an arm. Ramel Keaton catches it in stride. He ran right by the Akron secondary, 57 yards, and what a throw by Joe Milton.
Well, Joe Milton wasn't done. Tennessee adds on another touchdown. This is actually the final touchdown of the game for the Volunteers to go up 56-3. Walker Merrill, 38 yards. How about this? 3 games, 2 touchdowns for Walker Merrill, the Middle Tennessee product. This one from 38 yards. Another dime, another laser shot from Joe Milton to give the Volunteers yet another score.
Milton, they're going fast. Milton, play fake. Look.
Oh, he's got him.
Guns
he's got
right
him.
over the middle. Wide open. Touchdown, Tennessee. That's Walker Merrill. He got behind the Akron secondary, and Joe Milton just flicked it 38 yards. What another beautiful throw by Joe Milton, and Walker Merrill gets the touchdown.
You had Perez of Akron tack on another 3 points, this time from 41 yards away. It was 56-6. And then with less than a minute to go, Tennessee scores another touchdown. This one with the third unit on offense in. Taven Jackson, freshman quarterback, in there, and he keeps it on the zone read, goes around left side and scores to make it 63-6 Tennessee. What I love about blowouts, especially in Josh Heupel's offense, you want all your guys to continue to get work in. Say what you want about running up the score or whatever, but when your twos and when your threes are in the ball game and they're running their offense, go score. You practice every single day. A lot of you guys are on scout team. You're there every single day. And if your twos and threes are in there and still scoring, who cares? You got nothing to feel bad about. Also, a chippy football game. Man, was that a chippy football game. We got to go. I got to get to another segment, but let me just take this time real quick to say this. That might have been, Josh Heupel said that was the chippiest football game he's been a part of here at Tennessee. There are so many different incidences that we can talk about. Jimmy Callaway, pathetic, absolutely pathetic. I understand you go back and watch the tape. The DB swung first. I get it. You can never retaliate. Also, it's so dumb to punch a helmet. It is so dumb. I will never get it. When I played, I had guys getting fights on the practice field and they were punching helmets. I'm like, you are so stupid. You're going to break your hand. You can never do that. You can never do that. Inexcusable what Jimmy Callaway did. Inexcusable. But also the whole DJ Irons, he cried for a roughing the passer call one time on Aaron Beasley. That was pathetic. That was the weakest call. I have the utmost respect for officials. They had a rough night, a rough night the other night for Tennessee and Akron. DJ Irons crying for a roughing the passer call and then getting it and then talking smack to Aaron Beasley. Pathetic. I thought the pass interference call on Trayvon Flowers there in the second half was an awful call. I thought Kamal had an interception there, tiptoeing down the sideline. I thought it was a rough night. I did think it was a rough night. Anyway, that audio, courtesy of the Vol Radio Network, I do have written permission to play that here on this podcast. Really like bringing that to the show. I know a lot of you guys like it as well. That's why I continue to do it every Monday right here on Locked On Vols. Okay, we got to get into stats and Caner grades. What did the stat sheet say? What do I say about the performance? I will grade each position group when we return right here on Locked On Vols. We got a final segment left here on this edition of Locked On Vols. Time to talk stats and grades. Remember, Twitter Tuesday is coming up tomorrow, so don't forget, send me in your questions, your comments, and your concerns. All right, so quick overview. Tennessee 63, Akron 6. Total offensive yards 676 for the Big Orange. According to Tennessee Stats and Info, the Vols have eclipsed 600 yards of total offense in a game 17 times in program history. 3 of those incidences have come during the Josh Heupel era. Not bad. 676 total yards, 5th most in a single game in program history. That came off 70 plays for Tennessee, 9.7 yards per play for Tennessee, 276 yards of total offense for Akron on 70 plays, 3.9 yards per play compared to 9.7 yards per play for Tennessee. Tennessee did win the turnover battle 1-0. Akron did fumble once. A great hit by Jeremy Banks there in the red zone because they were driving and looking to score. Yards passing, Tennessee 438 yards through the air. Akron had 241 yards through the air. Remember, they were playing from behind the entire day. They were throwing the football. Get this. Tennessee averaged 21.9 yards per completion. You talk about those explosive plays. Goodness gracious, Tennessee had a ton of explosive plays. Look at this. 11 plays of 15 yards or more through the air for Tennessee, summing up 385 yards on those plays alone. Let me repeat that. 11 plays of 15 yards or more through the air for Tennessee. Just those plays, totaled 385 yards. The Vols generated 7 plays on the ground of 10 or more yards that contributed 116 more yards. Tennessee's offense registered 18 explosive plays in the victory. Not bad. Speaking of that, rushing yards, Tennessee, 238 yards on the ground, 35 on the ground for Akron. Tennessee averaged 5.3 yards a carry. The Zips, 1.5 yards per carry. Time of possession, Tennessee 24-43. We know Tennessee will never win that battle usually. 35 minutes and 17 seconds for Akron. Here's what I love. Tennessee was 6 of 13. That's over 50%. Math. Just under 50% for Tennessee. Akron was 1 for 13 on third downs. Talk about good defense, right? Red zone opportunities. Tennessee was 5 for 5 with 5 touchdowns in the red zone. Akron was 2 for 3 in the red zone, but 2 field goals. Another bend but not break moment for Tennessee. So, good job there. And points off turnovers, Tennessee got 7 points off turnovers. So, quickly, while we're talking about defense, I'll go ahead and say it. Tennessee had 4 sacks, 11 TFLs, 1 fumble recovery. That fumble recovery was forced by a Jeremy Banks hit on the goal line. Thought for the first time in 3 games, we talked about it on Friday, veterans, 5 of them that need to step up and have a good game. I think number 5 for me, maybe number 4. Anyway, mine was Jeremy Banks. I didn't think he did anything in 2 games. I mean, he led the team in tackles with 5. And remember, in a game like this, when you play so many different players, you're not going to have huge stats defensively usually, okay? Offensively, of course, you will, but defensively, you won't. Jeremy Banks led the team with 5 tackles. Thought he flashed. He made a huge TFL on third down. I think it was in the third quarter. Can't remember. But he had a forced fumble, had that TFL. I ran for 5 tackles. Good to see Jeremy Banks playing some good football. Hopefully that will carry over because Tennessee will need Jeremy Banks to be making those plays all season long. Elijah Herring was fantastic. Freshman linebacker, two sacks in 1 drive. Thought that was awesome. Joshua Joseph, flash on a jet sweep, kept the edge on 1 play, looked really good. Bryson Eason had a sack in this football game. James Pierce, another freshman Leo, thought he flashed all over the place. Thought the defense overall, with Warren Burrell not starting, again, he has a little banged up shoulder, didn't get the start. Christian Charles got the start at cornerback along with Kamal Haddon. Thought the defense overall played well. Again, no touchdowns allowed, only 2 field goals against a well inferior opponent. Let's keep that in mind. All right. Lastly, let's talk about the offense, okay? Hendon Hooker, 14 of 18, 2 touchdowns, 298 through the air. Want to make mention of this, though. It's really interesting, okay? Want to make mention of this. If I can find my notes, got to pull it up. Hendon Hooker in 3 games so far in like the first quarter, if you will, has gotten off to horrible starts early on in football games. Hendon Hooker through 3 games early on. I think this might be like a first quarter stat. Don't quote me, but this is early on in football games. Hooker started 9 of 23 for 94 yards and 1 touchdown, throwing at 39%. He started the Ball State game 4 of 8, 54 yards and a touchdown. That's not horrible, right? 50%. Started the Pitt game 2 of 8 for 8 yards. Started the Akron game 3 of 7 for 32 yards. Again, 9 of 23 to start off 3 games, 94 yards and a touchdown, throwing it at only a 39% clip. But then you look at the final numbers, 14 of 18, 298 and 2 touchdowns. Hendon Hooker's being fine. He's just a little errant, a little high. Footwork's been an issue, or footwork's been something that Alex Golish and Joey Halsey have talked about a little bit. Maybe he's too amped up. I don't know. But he has recovered, and he's putting up good numbers. He is. I'm not saying that he's not playing well this season, but his starts have not been particularly great. That note was courtesy of Brent Hubbs. I thought it was a really, really good note. But Hooker looked good, 14 of 18, 298, and 2 touchdowns. Joe Milton, he did miss once on an incompletion, but he was 4 of 5, 112 yards, 2 touchdowns. Beautiful throws. Taven Jackson, when he got in there, 2 of 2, 28 yards. And, of course, he had that rushing touchdown. On the ground, Jalen Wright, 23 carries, way too many in a game like this. 96 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4.2 yards per pop. Dylan Sampson, 8 carries, 57 yards, averaging 7.1 yards per pop. I like that. Justin Williams-Thomas thought he looked better compared to the Ball State game. 5 carries, 22 yards, 4.4 yards per pop. Receiving, Jalen Hyatt show, 5 of 5, 5 targets, 5 receptions, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns. Walker Merrill looked good, had a touchdown catch, 2 targets, 2 receptions, 46 yards. Cedric Tillman, before he went out, 3 targets, 2 receptions, 16 yards. Ramel Keaton, 2 targets, 1 catch, the big 57-yard touchdown from Joe Milton. And then Brew McCoy, he was targeted 3 times, only had 1 reception, and only had 9 yards. Not a great day for Brew. 2 times he was penalized for offensive pass interference. Technically. One time was what would have been a touchdown, a push-off, and the other time he was blocking, I think, for Jalen Hyatt, and you got to disguise a block a little bit better than that when the ball is thrown behind the line of or in front of the line of scrimmage. Now, if the ball is thrown behind, you can go knock somebody out. If the ball is thrown in front of the line of scrimmage, you can't just go up there and just actively block. Princeton Fant was penalized for that same thing at Pittsburgh, and so overall. But, decent day from the wide receivers. Squirrel White looked good, return that punt, right? One punt return, 23 yards, nearly had a house call. Chase McGrath missed a 42-yard field goal. Paxton Brooks, something's going on there with that punt operation team. That punt team does not look good so far. Nearly had another one blocked. Looked like they were trying to do a rugby style, and I was told that they were going to put a rugby style punt on tape for Florida to prepare for, but he only took a couple of steps. It wasn't a true rugby style. So anyway, nonetheless, as my phone's blowing up here, we only got a couple of minutes left. Time for some Caner grades. Those were the stats. I mean, in a game like this, everybody looks good, right? Not taking anything away, but everybody looks good. I'm a harsh grader, remember that. But quarterbacks, you're going to get an A-. The only reason quarterbacks get an A- is because of the start from Hendon Hooker. What was it that I said a moment ago? 3 of 9 for, however many yards it was. Only because of the start is why you get an A-. 3 of 9 for 32 yards. But ultimately, a great day from both Hendon Hooker and Joe Milton. Quarterbacks get an A-. Running backs get an A as well. The only reason they don't get an A+ is because 23 carries for Jalin Wright in this football game, only 4.2 yards per carry. I understand the volume's higher, but that yard per carry should be up a little bit more. And why in the world are you getting 23 carries? I understand Jabari Small wasn't in there, but goodness gracious, that's an A- for the running backs. Tight ends get an A. Thought they blocked well. Of course, you didn't have to pick up much in the backfield compared to Pittsburgh, at least. 3 receptions between Jacob Warren and Princeton Fant, 39 yards. That one little jump throw to Princeton Fant right at the goal line set up a touchdown, just like the one from Jacob Warren set up a touchdown to Pittsburgh. They love that when they get on the plus side of the 50. Wide receivers get a B-. Overall, a good day for the wide receivers. But again, like I mentioned, McCoy was penalized twice, one of which took a touchdown off the board. And the Callaway incident, it's a shame, man. He's so much talent. I don't know if he's going to be suspended. I don't know if he'll get kicked off the team. I don't know what's going to happen. So much talent for Jimmy Callaway. He might be the most talented guy in the room, and that's no exaggeration. That's what they've told me, really. And you've seen it in practice. They made it a point to play him early and get him the football. They went on one drive in the first half where they threw him the football 3 straight plays. Then you go and do that. Inexcusable. Also, don't punch a helmet. Come on. If you're going to make a mistake, go all out, but don't punch a helmet with your hand. Jeez. All right. Any kids listening, don't get in fights. Anyway. All right. Offensive line gave up 1 sack. Sure, the run game could have been a little bit better, but 647 yards of total offense. I don't care who you're playing. You get an A+. Offensive line gets an A+. Offensive grades. Quarterbacks A-. Running backs A-. Tight ends A's. Wide receivers B-. Offensive line A+. Defensively, Leos. And again, a game like this, you rotate the entire time, which is what Tennessee did. So you look at Byron Young. Oh, he only had a tackle, couple of quarterback hurries. Well, bad game. No, he didn't play as much as he normally would, right? Roman Harrison didn't even show up on the stat sheet. Okay, like he played a lot. All right. Leo's gonna be. I love what I saw from Joshua Josephs. I really love what I saw from James Pierce. Thought he looked really, really good. They flashed. Okay, Leo's gonna be. Defensive line gets a B. Tennessee overall 11 TFLs on the day. 3 TFLs from the interior defensive line group. That is the defensive tackles in the end, including the Tyler Barron position. I thought they looked fine, but Tyler Barron did have a penalty, roughing the passer that gave a first down. So I'll give the defensive line a B. Linebackers get an A. Were they perfect? No. Juwan Mitchell got into the mix a little bit. Not a whole lot of Banks and Beasley playing together this week. It was a lot of Banks and Mitchell and Beasley and Mitchell trying to get Mitchell acquainted to playing with both of those guys again. Elijah Herring was fantastic. And again, like I said, I thought Jeremy Banks played a good football game. Linebackers get an A. Defensive back get a B. No interceptions. There were some cushions there. But you got 241 yards thrown on you. But again, you got to take into account that you're playing from behind. You've abandoned the run game. You're throwing every play with DJ Irons. I thought they were fine. I'll give the defensive backfield a B in this football game. Special teams, you get a C. Again, the punt team nearly had one blocked. Chase McGrath, you missed a field goal. The coverage units have been great, but you got to fix that punt unit. I don't know what's going on there. You've got to fix that punt unit. I think Paxton's a little bit slower this year. It just doesn't look good. Special teams get a C. And then coaching, again, I'm nothing to be too critical about. You do get a B, though. Why on earth are you giving Jalin Wright 23 carries in a game like this, letting him carry the football late in the third quarter? Get Justin Williams-Thomas in that football game. Let the walk-on run. Golly. Also, I understand this. I come from a football background. It's the same at high school, college, and the pros. I get it. When you're in a blowout, you bring the starters back out to play a series in the third quarter. Okay, because you want to get them, the break, coming back out, getting out of the game. You want to get that. It's a mental thing. But in a game like this, and when you are hit with some injuries already in this football game, Cedric Tillman, Jabari Small at that point, you're freakishly low with depth at running back. Why on earth are you running Jalin Wright in the third quarter? Why on earth is Hendon Hooker playing any series in the third quarter? I didn't like that. That's my biggest critique. Coaching gets a B. So in conclusion, Leo's get a B. Defensive line get a B. Linebackers get an A. Defensive backs get a B. Special teams gets a C. Coaching gets a B. Quarterbacks an A-. Running backs an A-. Tight ends an A. Wide receivers a B-. And offensive line an A+. Tennessee wins 63-6. It did exactly what it was supposed to do and sits 3-0 for the first time since 2016. All right. Now the challenge begins. Florida is coming up this week. I know you're ready. We're going to break it down all week long right here on Locked On Vols. Twitter Tuesday tomorrow. Questions, comments, concerns, anything you got, get them in here. Twitter Tuesday right here on Locked On Vols at _Caner and at Locked On Vols. Please subscribe on YouTube. Support the show there. Fun show, everybody. Reactionary Monday. I love it. Appreciate you guys. Same time, same place. We'll do it again tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, everybody.